Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
Welcome to Comics Evolve, myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And we're here today. We're going to be talking about Echo. We're going to be looking at those 5 episodes. We're going to be catching up on news and rumors. But before we get to that, Alex, how are you, my friend?
Pretty good, pretty good. Been doing a little bit of traveling. Bought myself a couple new Funkos. I wish I would have brought them here so I could have shown them off. But I got the Black Manta from the Aquaman movie holding the Black Trident. Pretty cool. And I got that, it was in a box lunch store. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yeah, we have those here. Yeah.
I was in another place in a mall and I saw that. And I walked in and I saw the Green Goblin in the green outfit, like the original one from the original Spider-Man movie. And I bought one of those as well. So pretty stoked about that. So
a random encounter as well with a Funko and just sort of got that one. Yeah. You didn't go out hunting for it. You just found it.
No, it was one of those things where I was like, I'm going to buy one of those at some point, but unless like I actually see it, I've kind of cut my Funko purchases back a little bit. And then I saw it in the store and I was like, oh, wow. All right, well, it's here. I guess I'll just go ahead and buy it, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to be more selective now. I'm not buying as many. I got quite a few at Christmas, to be fair, but yeah, it's just run out of room. Like, I wish they brought out the Bitty Pops, like when I first started collecting, because I could have had thousands of them.
Yeah, I got this one a long time ago. It's the little Batman the Animated Series one, and I love that one. I got that in like a little random like DC one, and I mean it's awesome and everything, but I mean like I've got 300 and some pops now, and it's just like I got them in boxes and storage and stuff like that, and I'm just like I don't even know what to do with these things anymore, and they just take up so much space that I'm like I hate to buy them and put them in boxes because I can't display them all. So like it's hard.
This is the thing. Dorian, how are you?
Doing all right. Enjoying this nice winter weather. Seems like the kids here had an extended Christmas break. We'll see what school brings tomorrow because we're supposed to get ice tonight again. Ooh. So, yeah, we'll see what school brings tomorrow. But doing all right.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I've just finished watching The Creator. I don't know if either of you
That's good.
Seen it. Yeah. Do you know what? I had to watch it in 2 halves because I didn't realize how long it was. And I put it on the other day. I put it on too late and I was falling asleep, and I wasn't falling asleep because it was boring. I was just falling asleep because I was tired. So I had to watch it in 2 halves, but I enjoyed this second half better for some reason. I don't quite know why, maybe because I was just more awake, but yeah, quite liked it. There was some really good little moments in there. Yeah, enjoyed it.
I tried to watch that movie as well before going to sleep one night and was like 45 minutes in and then just went right to sleep and woke up, and I have not seen the rest of it since. So I gotta finish that movie.
It gave me some Golden Child vibes at times. Remember that movie from the 80s, 90s, Eddie Murphy, The Golden Child? Yeah. There's some relationship there and how he was with a child at times and so forth. Give me some Golden Child vibes with it.
Yeah, so. How his relationship develops with the child over time as well. Yep. He goes from sort of being kind of like just it's a thing to, obviously at the end. But no, good movie. Worth a watch. Definitely worth a watch. And I caught the middle part of Matrix Reloaded for about the millionth time the other day. And I just... Do you know what? As for the problems that movie and its sequel, the Revolutions.
The fourth one.
What was the third one called? Reloaded. Oh. No, that was the first. That was the second one.
Second was Reloaded.
What was the third one? It was Revolutions.
I gotta look it up.
Yeah, that's really annoying me now. Anyway, for the problems that the second and the third ones faced, there's a period of action in that second one which is just superb. Like from the moment he goes into the Great Hall and he has that superb fight where he stops all the bullets and that car chase scene and then he catches them, you're just like on edge for 20 minutes. It's just real good quality action.
So the third one was Revolutions and the fourth one was Resurrections. That's what it was.
Resurrections. There you go. You both got that at the same time as well. Yeah, that fourth one was really disappointing. I don't know if either of you have seen it. I was really disappointed with that.
Yes and no. Some parts are good, some parts were bad. I do like Jessica Henwick's role in that movie. I hope we get her back in the MCU. So there were some good things there. Yeah, I didn't really like how they did Morpheus in that movie. I thought that was kind of odd way to do it. So
I feel like that's one of those movies that it didn't really need a fourth movie for that trilogy, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It was just them trying to like maybe milk a little bit more, get a little bit more out of that. And I don't know. It didn't really do the same justice, I think, for that universe as the first three.
Yeah, absolutely.
It ended pretty well on Revolutions with the way he sacrificed himself to save Zion. I think that was a perfect ending. So
yeah. Sometimes it's just leave well enough alone. But anyway, let's get down to it. Let's get this Echo conversation started. So the Marvel Spotlight thing. We had the sort of the new intro, the Marvel Spotlight banner that was up there. That was pretty cool. And the intro itself I thought was really good. And I tell you what, I definitely got Netflix Marvel vibes from that intro. The song, you know, the credits, the whole thing sort of just yelled that to me, you know.
Even the fighting too.
Oh well, yeah, the fight. Yeah, we'll come to that. But just the beginning of it, I quite, you know, I've just felt that vibe.
And we get that real quick Daredevil, like first episode that he pops in, you know, and just real quick. And I love that Kingpin's like, you know, oh, you stood up to him longer than most of my guys do. And it was just a nice little thing they did.
Her
there.
final test.
Speaking of that first episode, I really enjoyed that first episode. I thought it was a nice way to kind of, it done the origin, it filled some gaps, and it set us up in 42 minutes. And I was like, nice. Like it was a really neat little package of a show, you know, a great episode of just like, this is who this is where she's been, this is where she's going, bosh. And I was like, nice. That was really clean, really tidy. I enjoyed it. Like you said, Alex, we had the little Daredevil cameo there. We saw all the little bits from Hawkeye. We obviously got some archived footage with Clint in there. So that was great to see. I really enjoyed the first episode. Probably my favorite episode, actually, out of the whole series, the first one, just because I liked its pacing. It just worked really well for me. I was just enjoying seeing a little bit more of her, finding out who she was, seeing where she'd been. And the fight scene with Daredevil, which I dare say we'll talk more about the fights later, was tremendous in my book. But when, you know, it wasn't the best I've seen in the MCU, but it was certainly up there in the top sort of fight scenes.
I still feel like they're going to tie her some way to Kahori. This the way that the started off with the ancestry and her people and how they kind of rose up, and that water that had the blue in it, you know, that she saved the people and brought them to Earth.
Similar to that episode of What If, where like it's like the blue water and everything, and her ancestors drinking out. I mean, and it almost felt like they were coming from like the sky land that they talked about, or whatever. I forget what they call it, the sky world. But it was very similar. It like gave me like What If vibes, and I was like, maybe that's the reason why they waited until right after What If to bring this out, you know.
Yeah, I definitely could see that, and plus the Sky World being one of the 7 ancient cities of heaven that was mentioned in Shang-Chi, as part of that in the MCU, possibly. You know, we could have different those spread across the world. We'll probably find out once Iron Fist is reintroduced, you know, that Totalo is one of those cities possibly too as well. So interesting to see. But yeah, definitely think you're right, Alex, that's possibly... that may not be a coincidence of What If happening before we saw Echo, and then that kind of Easter egg looks like it might tie into there. Plus, also too, the actress who plays Bonnie, her cousin in this series, also voiced Kahori too in What If as well. So,
and did you know that me and my family were sitting there watching? We were saying that is amazing how young Maya looks so much like old Maya. That's her cousin. That's her actual cousin. That's cool. Cox's cousin. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense now when you realize that. I was like, that's incredible how they've managed to find a little girl who looks exactly like what she would look like if she was a little girl. They're related.
They both have that mean mug going on too. Like in the whole series, you see how the way the shoulder face, the mean mug, that kind of stuff. Her and her little cousin both have that going on, because when you watch Alakwa Cox like in interviews, all that kind of stuff. And when she's talking, you're going to see how excited she is, how happy she is, and just probably trying to hold that look the whole time is probably tough for her because she seems like such a happy person in all the interviews I've seen her in.
One of my favorite parts, and I think this was in like the 4th episode, but it was that scene where Kingpin's beating the mess out of that dude in the alley for being mean to her. Yeah. And like he's like, you know, bring me a jacket so Maya doesn't see, and he turns and he sees her there, and then he's like worried because he didn't want her to see, and she runs up and she just starts kicking the guy, and I got like a chuckle. Yeah, I started laughing. Like I was just like, that's so funny. He's like, I don't want her to see this, and she's just like, let me get these kicks in, you know, like it was just so funny.
Yeah, it's you know, going on that look, Jarian, that you were saying, we were saying that she either looked pissed off or confused the whole time. That was it. But I guess actually, as you know, from her as a person, it's understandable why she's pissed off all the time. And also, if she's deaf, I'm not surprised that she could be confused some of the time because she might not know what's going on or not know what's around her. So I thought she was really not relatable, that's the wrong words, but believable, you know, really believable. You know, I was sort of sitting there thinking, yeah, I'm annoyed for you as well. Like, you've been treated like crap.
And you see it too, thinking that her grandma didn't want her around, the perception that she had of her family, the conversation her and her grandmother had about the ancestors and that kind of stuff. And then as you saw at the powwow and you saw her in her new suit made by her grandmother too, as well, you could see how that changed in her too. Once that perception of, you know, no one wanted me around, you guys left me, you know, kind of, once my dad took me away, you guys pretty much turned your back, something which wasn't the case, you know, and you just kind of saw that. And there was just trauma for everyone, even her cousin Bonnie and her grandma from that separation when they were kids.
Yeah, I felt like this show did a really good job of kind of showing how dimensional, and I don't mean that as in like a traveling dimensions, I mean just like for the character of Echo, because I didn't think Hawkeye did a really good job of like flushing her character out. It was kind of just like putting her in some scenes and then kind of moving on. I don't really think that show did her character justice. So it was nice to see how that kind of like spun into this show and how they kind of took that character and kind of like spooled it up a little bit in that show and then moved forward. And yeah, I mean, like I loved the first 3 episodes of the show. They were fantastic. And I had some issues with the final episodes, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, I mean, like, it was one of those things where like some of the stuff, it didn't, like the train scene didn't look the best. I don't think in some of the shots, like they could have done a better job on that, but I wasn't really like too upset about that. It felt very Falcon and the Winter Soldier, kind of like them standing on top of that moving semi or whatever, you know, in some parts. Yeah, I mean, like, but for her to be like a character that you watch this entire show where she's communicating through sign language, like there's a lot of emoting done that is done very well. And I think that I could be wrong about this, but she wasn't really an actress before Hawkeye. So yeah, so like I thought that she did an amazing job as like an actress for this. Like, and it seems like, to be honest, like I think she's a lot better of an actress than some other people that I've seen that have been, you know, in the field for you know 10 years or whatever. Like she did a really good job for somebody that, you know, is kind of starting off fresh for this. So commend her on that. You know,
again, like we said, just a very believable person. You know, you can, like you said, she was very emotive. You could feel her emotions a lot of the time, but maybe that's because in a way, maybe she wasn't acting for some of it. Does that make sense? Like, you know, she was probably, you know, some of those, you know, troubles that she goes through, she probably goes through those every day.
Yeah. And speaking of that too, the tech that Kingpin ended up having it towards the end to communicate with her, that was pretty cool too, to see that, because he didn't want any more middle people being able to translate. And that was her last lesson too, about, you know, you can only trust us. You know, we can't have anyone listening in between to kind of confuse things. And he was trying to basically control her the entire time, right? You know, do we ever figure out who was behind the break things with her mother? Was that malicious or just a pure accident?
The
brakes, the accident that took her leg and killed her mother.
Oh,
I feel like that was probably Kingpin. Like, I mean, I don't think they said in the show, I could be wrong, but like my belief was that was like an attempt by Kingpin to try and like, because they have that line where that one guy says like, I'm 45 years old. Why do you think I'm alone? Like Kingpin took all of my family away from me. And we know Kingpin admits that he killed her father.
Yep.
So I felt like that was him trying to kill her and her mother, but he like didn't kill her mother. I mean, excuse me, he killed her mother, but he didn't kill Maya. So, you know, like he saw that aggression and then wanted to exploit it a little bit.
The thing too as well about that was like, so they didn't say it, they did not say it, but it did seem kind of suspect that he could have been behind that.
The grandmother also alluded to the fact that the Lopez boys, quote unquote, were trouble. So, you know, her dad, you know, the grandmother didn't approve of her daughter's choice of partner because it sounded like his family or whoever it was were trouble. So maybe there was something in there, you know, maybe it was kind of something to do with him or he's sort of the gangs or the people that he was associating with, him and Henry. Did we ever figure out, was Henry her dad's brother? I guess
it's a good question.
Was her uncle. He was her uncle. So
yeah, but which side? But yeah,
which side exactly? Yeah.
Well, is that the pawn shop owner?
Yeah, the skate. Roller skate.
The roller skate. The pawn shop owner was once with her grandmother at a point in time, but they're no longer together. He's the roller skate. Yeah, the
roller skate guy, Henry, the one who said he was alone at 42, and you know, why do you think that is? But I think that was her uncle. But was that her dad's brother? I think it might have been. Because he kind of seemed like he was caught up in that world as well. Like he said to her at the end, didn't he, that he'd moved back here and was doing Kingpin's work. He was trying to get away, but he could never get out.
Yeah, because he was going to be killed by Kingpin if he did. So he kind of had to fall in line, you know.
Yeah. And, so I feel like the accident might have had something to do with that family and the trouble that her grandmother was talking about. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, who knows.
From the chat here about her being a new actress in the field, they said, "Agree with that, Alex. I thought the same thing about her. Did a great job for being so green." So.
Yeah, very true, very true. So just speaking of the fight scenes and this the maturity thing, I think they lent into it a little bit heavy for me. I don't think it was overly mature. The whole show, I don't think it was overly mature. And if they hadn't have made a big deal about it, I probably wouldn't be talking about it. But they made quite a big deal about it in the promotional stuff, didn't they? Where they were saying, "Oh, you know, you got to change your settings, and you know, this is parental advisory and all of this kind of stuff." And I was like, "Well, there was a bit of blood, and you know, she shot a few people, but you know, there's just as much in Lord of the Rings."
It's not like we're going to be watching, like while we're watching Echo, it's not like we were watching like The Punisher or something like that, you know, like that scene of him fighting in the prison and the Netflix shows where he's just covered in blood and everything like that. Like there was really nothing kind of like that. So I think they did kind of do that. But I will say one thing, there was this great scene, and it was in the Daredevil Echo fight where they're fighting and she goes to kick him, I think with her metal leg, and he uses his little like billy club and hits it, and it sounds like metal clanging on metal. And I was just like, man, I love that attention to detail that they did right there, where it's like he deflects and hits that and you hear ding ding, you know. I like that kind of stuff that they kind of throw in there because it's a nice little detail that they add. So
also, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that was a nice scene, and they, although I think there was a few cuts in there, that was 6 minutes of a one shot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was a couple of moments in there where they have somebody walk past the screen or they go past a bollard or something like that so that they can use that as a point to cut it in. But it was 6 minutes without any breaks on that scene. So that's always fun. I like seeing stuff like that. You know, we've seen a few bits like that in Daredevil, in Punisher, in Raid, in the Extraction, the Chris Hemsworth ones. They're the best ones. They're great. Black Summer, they did a lot of one-shot scenes as well. The zombie one, they were really good. But I love a one-shot. So, yeah, they were really cool.
From the chat here, seemed to be they were going for Netflix show's vibe without all the blood. They shot under the guy's chin was a surprise coming from Disney. And even some of the fight scenes, too, they did give me some Punisher vibes. They weren't as extreme as Punisher, but the brawl, the way they're, more brawly scenes like that, they did give me some Punisher vibes, too. And speaking of the Netflix shows, it seems like after watching this, people have been going back and rewatching Netflix season 1 and 2, along with the Punisher season as well. So it does seem like this show has given people that want to go back and watch that stuff and give more juice to some of those Netflix shows, and what shows you how when this show dropped, they basically put all the Netflix shows into the Marvel timeline. But there's been some back and forth if everything will be canon or not be canon from those shows. Like, I think the main focus right now is on Daredevil and Punisher and Jessica Jones. I'm not sure so much on Luke Cage and Iron Fist, even though they're in the timeline. All the juice is around those 3 characters from Netflix.
Although there was one really important recasting from the Daredevil show into this show, which I know Alex just was not happy with. I mean, I could gloss over it, but so could you want to tell everybody what you wasn't happy with, Alex?
I was just frustrated that they didn't get the hammer right from the show, where Kingpin's like talking about how he killed his father with that hammer, and then he shows it to Maya and everything. Like, they show like a ball peen hammer, and the one that he killed his father with was not that kind of hammer in the show. So, I mean, like, it's like one of those things, like, he could have gone to like a dollar store.
It's so easy to get it right.
Yeah, like, why get it wrong? Like, I just don't understand. Like, it's not like we're doing like a recast of a person here. This is like something that costs $7 at most to fix, Like,
do you think they did it on purpose? Because like you said, like, he's not hard to get it right. So surely they must have chosen to get it wrong. Because if you're going to choose something, just choose to get it right, surely.
I almost feel like, it was maybe one of those things that was overlooked almost. Like, they just...
and then they went, where's the hammer? Quick.
Yeah. Like, maybe it was just like, I'll just throw a hammer in there. But I mean, like, they don't even look like the same. Like, I mean, like, I want to say the other one was like all metal, and this one had like a wood handle or whatever, So it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe they either did it on purpose, or that was just a huge overlook where they just messed that up really, really bad. And I don't know why they would have done it on purpose. That's my only thing. So
yeah, from the chat here, same thing. Unless they did it on purpose, and maybe they did, right? Who knows? Maybe before when Echo was shot and filmed, because didn't Echo get moved around too, schedule wise and kind of stuff too? Yeah. So I wonder if the plan wasn't to be so connected to some of the Netflix stuff and just start anew, and maybe this was the direction. Because also remember too, Daredevil Born Again is being reshot, right, from what they first started. So I wonder if some of these changes like that, the Echo stuff happened because it was done. They didn't want to go back and reshoot it, but now they have the opportunity to change some things in Born Again to make it more tied to the Netflix stuff. So maybe that's what happened with the change there.
Yeah, sure.
Also, too, looks like the Nostalgic Pod Blast is back. Greetings, fellas, from Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, welcome back.
We're talking about Echo. Nostalgic Podblast, so join in if you've seen it. I think carrying on in this sort of mature content thing, fights aside, do we think that there was anything in there that kind of, I think they said a couple of naughty words every now and again, but I don't think it was particularly mature in its content, outside of the fights and the bit of blood that we saw. So I'm still quite surprised. I mean, I don't know how the ratings work. It just had, so in this country, we just had, I think it was like viewer discretion advised or something like that. I didn't have to change any settings on my Disney Plus or anything like that. But I mean, maybe I'd already got it set like that. I'm not sure.
Or I wonder if you were like under like a child profile, maybe you had to fix it under a child one. I'll have to check my son's to see what his looks like. So
I think the bloodiest scene had to be that one scene where Kingpin beats the mess out of the ice cream vendor, but just because he's wearing a white suit and it goes all over him, and it's like blood on a white suit, So, and I get that Kingpin normally like wears white pretty often, but still, I felt like that was probably like one of the worst scenes I felt visually for, I guess, a mature rating, just because it stands out. It kind of, that blood kind of pops.
Well, the same thing when they off the interpreter too, on the plastic, you see the blood splatter, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so, I was not expecting that when that happened. I was just like, man, how many of these interpreters are they going through? Like,
and then some of the fight scenes too, when she shot them as well. So I could see why they changed it, because some of those things you probably don't want kids watching that, and so it was a good subtle transition into that for what they're doing with the street heroes.
Do you know what? Actually, that's a good shout there, Jaren. It may have been, like you say, a subtle transition from from where we've been before to like go to Punisher levels. Might be a bit of a jump. So maybe they're kind of going, let's do this. We've got Punisher coming by the sounds of it. Maybe it was just a subtle transition from one to the other. So as we go on through the episode, there's quite a lot of family drama that goes on in this. There's quite a lot of different relationships that have seemed to have broken down over the years. Obviously, her and Bonnie, the nan and the granddad, the nan and Maya, Biscuits. He's a great little character, but he seems to be the only one that hasn't really got a problem with anybody. He's still sort of going around trying to talk to everybody, and there's different people that aren't talking to others, and he's kind of like the go-between. He's getting stuck in between everything, isn't he? But a lot of sort of a broken family from that accident, really. That kind of just destroyed them, didn't it? By the looks of it. So there's I guess in a way that's, I wouldn't call it mature content in regards to it's not graphic, but sometimes that kind of stuff is harder for children to understand, isn't it?
Or sparks conversations and that kind of stuff that you may not want to be ready for yet with the younger children. Excuse me. Biscuits is the new Lewis.
So towards the end of the series, we obviously see her. She gets these powers. What do we think? I mean, I've read her. I think I've read her once, and she was in Devil's Reign, which we'll talk about for obvious reasons in a little while. But I haven't read her a great deal, so I knew she didn't have these powers in the comics just because I'd read it before. So but I'm not overly affected by the change. But I mean, what do we think about the powers?
Real quick from the chat to follow up on the Biscuits of the new Lewis, they also said him and Madison. Before you go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say, I think like when we first were talking about this show coming out before they released it, I think I made the comparison that the whole ancestral thing kind of reminded me of Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you have this character, Aang, who reincarnates, and every time he reincarnates, he has that connection to all his past ancestors. They kind of have that kind of going on in this show, and then they have that scene. Like in Avatar, it's like he'll basically like go into an avatar state and then his past lives will take control and kind of do whatever. And this is a little bit different, but I mean, it's very similar in the respect of like all her ancestors are guiding her and kind of leading her in addition to the powers. So they have that scene where they're all like standing behind her and she's standing in the center of the screen. And it's like her mom, like the original one that I cannot remember her name, but the original like lady from the Sky World, and like the original ancestor, and then like it goes all the way down. I think there's like 5 people at least like there, including Echo. And I thought that was pretty cool. The healing thing, they say her mother was a healer. They have that scene where they show her mother like doing the healing on the bird, and then they use that bird. yeah. And the bird like keeps on making that reappearance throughout the episode. And she says to her mother at one point, like, "Will we ever see the bird, I think, again," or something like that. And she's like, "Yeah, whatever," But I thought where they made that transition to her being like kind of like a healer, and then if you notice, like with Kingpin, before she heals his eye, she touches his chest, and like I think that was like her healing his heart, kind of in a way, trying to mend that, which I thought was really interesting. It was very weird kind of power I felt like they did in the show. I liked what they did with the Sky World, but I didn't really expect them to turn her into a healer. I thought she was going to get like shot or something and be bleeding out and heal herself and get back up and start fighting or something like that. So I did not expect them to go the way that they did in the show.
Did she heal his eye, or did she more go into his mind to kind of change that moment for when he killed his dad with the hammer? Because it seems like she went kind of into his mind at that point, not heal the eye, because it seemed like his eye was already healed. It was more like, I think she went into his mind to kind of change him, because she's like, "What did you do to me?" He kind of, she took away that trauma, that childhood trauma that he had, and that's why you saw him all confused. And then it seems like, we talk about the post credits here shortly, but it seemed like she changed the path of his course by taking away that childhood trauma.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got from it. I got that she was trying to heal him. She was trying to calm him down and take away his pain. That's why what did she kept saying when she was sort of in his head, like, you got to let go or something. Yeah,
because she was driven by anger and by past trauma, and she kind of, once she had that conversation with her grandmother, and then just when she kind of had it with her mom, and then going back to the childhood accident, that kind of healed her of that trauma, so she can move forward as well.
And we see that wall that's got that great like scene from the Netflix shows where he would always stare at that picture that reminded him of that wall that he would stare at when he would listen to his parents fight. And then of course we see the wrong hammer flash real quick in that scene and everything while she's like in his mind and everything. But yeah, I mean, like it was definitely really interesting seeing that, like, because she's struggling throughout this show with like, how do I like change? How do I be different? Like, I'm so angry and frustrated and everything like that. So like, you know, she had that great scene where she sees her mom when she's going to look for that, when she's looking for, I think, her grandmother, and she sees the costume and everything. And her mother tells her that like every part of that suit, like even everything down to the seams, is like basically been made with like the love of all of her ancestors and everything like that. And I like that. I thought that was very interesting. And it was also very cool to see her kind of walk out in like when they're looking for Maya, she's like walking with the tribe while everybody's dancing and everything. And she's like trying to kind of blend in, but you know, like she really can't like blend in because she's like looking for everything going on. But yeah, powers were really interesting in this show, to say the least.
I like the power change because in the comics, she's basically Taskmaster. You know, she basically can mimic and copy moves of people. Not to the same level as Taskmaster, but similar skill set in the mimicking, copying piece. So we kind of already got that in the MCU. You know, we had that. So I love that they changed her powers and made it more about the ancestry because it allowed them to show more of the Native American culture. You know, I think Marvel has done pretty well with Wakanda and Talokan. What's the city in Shang-Chi?
Talo.
No, Talos. I thought Talo was Iron Fist.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Where his mom's from?
But
all those different cultures and how they bring stuff in and pull from that stuff. I think they probably have done the best with this one and being able to tie her to the Choctaw Nation, being able to do all the filming there, working with them, that special thanks they had at the end of the show. So I'm glad they did that and put a lot of that in here because I feel Marvel, every time they bring a new character, or not a new character, but they bring a new character to the screen that has some kind of really big cultural background that needs to be shared and shown, they've done pretty well. And it seems like every time they've done that, it gets even bigger and better. And that's why I'm glad they changed her powers to kind of tie it to the ancestral stuff, give us those flashbacks, all that kind of stuff too, and just the stuff we see throughout the show also.
I like how they tied well, not her name. She didn't get given a name, but they tied the word Echo into her power. You know, her ancestors echo through the sort of generations and come out into her. What I didn't particularly like though was the sort of passing on of the power to her grandma and her cousin. I was like, it didn't seem necessary. It was just a bit odd, and why did she have to do that? She could.
Is it passed on though, or is it part of the family blood though? Because shared, yeah, okay.
But I mean, suddenly they can all fight and everything like that, and take down gunmen. And it was. I felt like that finale kind of scene where they're kind of closing things up with the Kingpin there. I felt like it didn't make any sense. Like he just kind of is like, "What did you do?" and then just kind of like gives up, and it's like, "Oh yeah, the authorities are coming." But I would have expected him to just be like, "Okay, put a bullet in all of them, and like let's move on." Like, and it was just like he just kind of goes out and gets in the car and leaves and everything. It just felt like. It's like, what just kind of happened? You know,
it's just a bit rushed, wasn't it? It was almost like before you have a big final battle.
Well, remember too, this show was really supposed to be 6 episodes, and then got cut down to 5. And then I even heard too that there was stuff cut from the whole Kingpin fight scene as well. So I think maybe editing floor, which I don't know why they did that. You know, leave it there, let us see it, or give us some bonus footage or whatever for it. But definitely would like to see what got cut, because I feel like some of the things that did get cut probably took away from some of how it felt rushed and left some gaps in the end of the finale there.
Well, and the other thing that bothered me too is Kingpin's not the type of guy, right, to like get beat once and then just turn his back and never come back, right? So like I was like, just because they won in this moment, I totally see him like a week later coming back at her family and trying to kill everybody. You know,
this could be the whole healing thing that she did in his mind though. Maybe that's kind of like pushing him, and that's why do we want to see the post-credit scene? Yeah, not soften him up, but changed his world of view and his purpose in the world, more like that. I don't think he's more soft, because now he seems like he's kind of that from the post-credit scene on the plane. that, you know, that outsider candidate similar to what Trump was when he first ran for office. It seems like Fisk is going to do that for New York, which then is going to tie us probably into Born Again, but then also the rumored street level civil war that we're going to see in Spider-Man 4 as well. So
he's always been a little bit like that, though, hasn't he, Fisk? He's always been a bit sort of almost. He's almost righteous. He always thinks that what he's doing is the right thing to do all the time, and it's like, yeah, but it's not. Like, you know, but he thinks it is. He thinks he's doing the right thing.
I feel like he sees himself. I mean, he's kind of like a street level guy, right? So he kind of sees himself almost as like the voice of the little man, but also the big man himself, because like he calls the shots at the same time. So it's like he's been at the bottom and now he's at the top, kind of type of thing.
And he's always been a bit soft as well, hasn't he? I mean, look at Into the Spider-Verse as well. You know, the whole reason he was doing everything was to get his family back.
It's always Vanessa.
Yeah, I don't mean soft. He's not soft. That's not what I mean.
But he's not soft, but he has soft spots.
He's got feelings. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But yes, I'm not sure. That was interesting. But yeah, the end credit scene. I mean, we thought this a long while ago, didn't we? With Born Again and with him coming back. That we're talking about Devil's Reign as well. Hopefully, we're going to do an episode on Devil's Reign soon. Once we all get a chance to reread that and have that fresh in our minds. But that looks really like where we're going. Like he's going to be the mayor of New York, and like you said, Jarian, it's going to tie into those street level projects.
There was one thing that I noticed in the show in the final episode, and every time I see it, I like scream it out loud. But I saw when she went to the gas station, it was a Roxxon gas station. I was like, Roxxon! Like I screamed at the TV, you know, like I was like, man,
that was probably one of the only little Easter eggs that I saw. Though.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only and the biggest one. And I keep feeling that we got Roxxon teased in Loki season 1. We got teased again here. At some point, it's gonna be Cloak and Dagger. You keep teasing Roxxon. Roxxon's the reason why they're they get their powers. Cloak and Dagger. Just give us Cloak and Dagger at some point. And if they do a Spider-Man street level civil war, at least tease those two. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Roxxon go all the way back to the first Iron Man movie. I mean, I think when they were fighting on the street, there's like Roxxon in the background. It's been sprinkled throughout all these projects throughout all these years. I mean, like, if they're not doing something with it, like, what are they doing? I know they're doing that on purpose. Like, they have to. So
it's the pizza truck from Toy Story. Because if you notice, the pizza truck in Toy Story that was in Toy Story features in loads of different Pixar movies. It's just spattered all over the place. It's like in Cars, it's in Up, it's in all of them. It's just hidden. Sometimes it's right in plain sight as well. But yeah, that's the pizza truck equivalent in Marvel.
We have a long chat here, so I can't put it on the screen, but I'll read it anyways. From the chat here, I watched it 3 times now. I really do like the show and Echo as a character. There's a lot of good things to take away from the show. Ties so many characters. Hawkeye, Fisk, Daredevil, etc. Another Native American. Love the street level gritty stuff. So much more than the multiversal, magical timey-wimey stuff. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but more into the street level stuff. Anyway, the one thing I can't get past, everyone in the room got the powers. They Shazammed it. LOL, I can live with her getting her powers, although I don't think it was necessary. But the shared powers in that moment, I did not like at all. That, and they need more consistent with Fisk. 1 minute he's ripping the door off a car and that taking a Cadillac to the hip, but the next he gets bested by a couple rookie girls. Yes, I know that sounds bad, but you all know what I mean. Spider-Man and Dee Dee had a harder time with Fisk than they did. LOL. Other than that, I like it. 7.5 out of 10, which is fine. And like I said, the whole powers thing, I could see with her grandmother because her grandmother had the ancestors visit her the night her mom was born. So she had that. The cousin might have been a reach too far with the powers for me, but I can see the grandma with powers. So I'll kind of split the difference on that one. But yeah, some good feedback there. So 7.5 out of 10 is a good rating. So
I felt like if they would have done that scene where Kingpin like shoots her grandmother or something and her grandmother's like dying and then Echo heals her grandmother and then Kingpin leaves after doing so, Echo heals her grandmother and then goes after him and then they have like a final showdown. I felt like that would have been like probably a better way to kind of wrap that up. But
yeah,
that finale, like I love that show until like somewhere in episode 4, episode 5, I was just kind of like, I don't like how this is ending, but it was a pretty good show overall. Definitely one of the better ones I think I've seen recently from Marvel had a lot better of an ending than What If. I thought, I'll put it like that. That most recent ending,
and Secret Invasion had a better ending than that, and a better ending than a few of the other shows. But I still think there seems to be a bit of a problem. I mean, Loki nailed it, obviously, but I do remember sitting there about 3 or 4 episodes in, maybe even the fifth episode of Loki, thinking, I was like, please God, please land this, like just land this, because I do feel like some of the Marvel shows, they are having trouble finishing them off.
Yes.
The last sort of episode or 2, they just seem to kind of either rush things or not have enough urgency in them at all.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a little bit of a battle that they face too, because it's like they're trying to stick the landing, which they have to do, but then they're also trying to leave that finale almost a little bit open-ended to where it can spin into something else later on, to where it like spools something else up, leads to something else. And that was one of the things that I like struggled with this, which was like, where do we go with Echo after this, right? Like, what are your guys' thoughts?
I have some news. Let me get to the news portion.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think we've covered the show pretty well. Have we got any final thoughts on the show, just generally speaking, or do we want to go into some news now? We can chuck the Echo news in at the top and then follow on with the other stuff.
So I'll just give you my final thoughts. I love the show. Like I said, I love how they start showing more cultural stuff, exposing us and showing us more of different cultures out there. I said they've done it with Black Panther, Shang-Chi, Namor, and now with Echo as well. And it seems like they keep getting better as they're doing this. My only complaint about the show is that it did feel rushed at the ending. I wish they would have kept us with the 6 episodes or put maybe the 5 longer and had that pacing better at the end. But other than that, it's another. I love this one for me. I'm not going to complain too much about it. Like Alex said, or Andy said before, this show has done a lot better than other shows of recent besides Loki. So I'm really good with this series. I'll probably watch it again.
Yeah, for me, I think that little end credit scene with Kingpin, I love that dialogue where it's like, this could be anybody's race and anybody could kind of jump in, and it's like him like getting closer and closer, like leaning in almost, like hearing that. And it's like, this totally sets up Kingpin, right? Like moving forward. And it's weird to me that it sets up Kingpin, but it didn't really feel like I knew exactly where she was going. I almost, at the end of that show, when you see her like riding on the motorcycle, I thought that she was just going to go off, be in the wind and kind of disappear for a while. And then she shows up and sees her family. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I thought that was a nice little twist. I did not expect her. I thought it was gonna be one of those things like, oh, Maya's out there. She's kind of in the wind, whatever, kind of finding herself after this traumatic experience. But yeah, personally, I think it was a pretty good show. I don't know what I would rate this show. I think the finale kind of like, I struggled with that a lot. Like the person mentioned earlier, it was the whole passing of the powers thing and how rushed it all felt and all that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was definitely not the worst thing I've seen ending wise coming out of Marvel by any means,
Thumbs up in the chat because they said Lions just won. I went for the next game though, Kansas City and Buffalo. Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
We'll be finished by then.
Yeah.
I think that just talking about where this is going, and I'm just thinking about all those Netflix shows and the Defenders Netflix show. They all had something in common that was running through their own shows that brought them together. And I'm wondering whether the thing that everyone's going to have in common is going to be Fisk. So Echo Maya is going to find Daredevil somehow. They've already had a slight interaction there. I know other people, Yelena or Kate or Clint or somebody else, going to have some sort of Kingpin connection. Are we going to see a couple of others? Is Punisher going to have a Kingpin connection? And are
Jessica Jones,
Spider-Man? Are these guys all going to have a Kingpin connection? Is he going to be the sort of the Coulson or the Thanos or whatever you want to call it? That sort of glue that brings everybody together. So yeah, I quite enjoyed the show as a whole. Certainly enjoyed the first sort of half of it better than the second half of it, but that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it. And I liked seeing the different sort of cultures, so that was decent. But yeah, excited to see where she pops up next, and excited to see more of Kingpin and that Devil's Reign story, because that is one of my favorite more recent comic story arcs, so that was very good. But let's bust into the news and kick off with the Echo news, and that might spark a little bit more conversation.
Hold from the chat here real quick. I hope we get more Echo, but I hope we don't have her in her own show again. I like Echo as a character, but this show was kind of weak. Only enjoyed the beginning and the end. Okay, that's good feedback. Marvel Studios is interested in doing more with Maya Lopez Echo, and they're already developing new ideas for the character via the Hollywood Reporter.
Okay. I'd like to see her in other people's projects, but I've got to admit, that's Monty. Hi, Monty. How you doing? I don't think I'd be overly fussed if we didn't see her in our own show again.
Also, follow-up comment here. It ended better than Secret Invasion, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, everything in it better than Secret Invasion.
Everything,
It's hard to be worse than Secret Invasion. Also, too, Echo premieres at #1 on both Disney Plus and Hulu. So when it premiered, it was the #1 show on both platforms. And this is the first where they've done a dual release like that of a Disney Plus show. So
was there much else released? Does anybody else own anything these days, or is it just Disney that owns everything?
Yeah. Well,
by the way, I went to so in London. There's the Disney 100 exhibition at the moment, because they're doing it. There's a North American tour and then a rest of the world tour. So we went to the Disney 100 exhibition, and it's amazing how much of their content, even going back to the 30s and 40s, is actually, what way to put this, sort of like recycled content or reimagined content from other stories. You know, a lot of Lewis Carroll Stevenson, a lot of Brothers Grimm, you know, a lot of their stories that they've done and brought to life are stories that have existed a long time before, and they've bought into a lot of different things in the past. Like they've bought out other people and bought out stories. You know, that just digressing there on me saying, does Disney own everything anyway? So if they want it to be #1, it will be #1.
Yeah.
Because they won't release anything else.
But yeah, but Hulu's interesting. Well, they've had other stuff released too on Disney Plus and Hulu, but not both though. So yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think Percy Jackson and the Olympians, right? Like that technically like came out around like the same time for them.
It
well.
did. Yeah. Percy Jackson's out there. Other stuff they released. There's always that one thing. What's on Disney Plus stuff coming up. So yeah. There's other content, but I'm not sure anything was dual release, but it had a competition on each platform. Thunderbolts news. It's been a wild week for Thunderbolts. We all know that Steven Yeun has dropped out of Century. Via Daniel RPK, Austin Abrams, who was in Euphoria and The Walking Dead, had an offer for Century in the Thunderbolts beginning of the week. Get to the end of the week, it was reported again by Daniel RPK that he passed on the role. So it looks like we're still searching for Century. Now, Austin Abrams was a complete 180 from Steven Yeun. You know, they went back to a typecast, comic book looking style Century with this Austin casting. But also, too, Andy's fave for Reed Richards, Deb Patel reportedly declined the offer to play Century. Has been reported out there. I don't know how true it is, but it was floating out there or not. So,
it sounds like they almost did. If that is true, they're determined to not have a Century that looks comic accurate, aren't they? By the looks of it.
Back to Echo real quick from the chat. I'm glad Echo did well insofar as it got the Marvel's is declining narrative monkey off the back a little bit and start the year strong. And that's a great point. They did start the year strong with this show being released. It kind of looked like they went from Steven Yeun to Austin Abrams and reportedly Deb Patel. Unless Deb Patel was before Steven Abrams or Austin Abrams, so we'll see. Who knows? They should, what you get for Century? Get Austin, the other Austin dude, Austin Asher, Billy Batson. Get that guy to play.
Oh, okay.
Get him to play Century. But yeah, so yeah, who knows what's gonna happen? I know that Century is wanted past Thunderbolts, and so I don't know if they don't like the Thunderbolts script or people are just busy or what. So we'll see. From the chat here, Steven Yeun is gone. Maybe it's for the better. He's a great actor, but I always apprehensive about him in that role. And him came down the timing, right? His schedule. This movie got pushed back. The strikes happened, and he's got other stuff he's doing. So, yeah. Fantastic Four. breaking news for today that's been saying that the cast is done and it should be announced every day, any day now.
Okay.
But before today's news, reportedly has been pushed back to start of Q3 of this year for filming, which makes sense because if you don't have a cast, you can't film anything.
Yeah, so hard.
Yeah. Also, too, Pedro Pascal has dropped out of Zach Krieger's Weapons to clear his schedule via Jeff Snyder. So I wonder if that's more smoke around Pedro being Reed Richards. But yeah, apparently the cast is done. We're waiting for the announcement.
It's one of those ones that, you know, I think we said at the time, like, I wouldn't be disappointed because he's awesome, but I just feel like there's other people that should be playing him before Pedro Pascal. You know, like, I don't know. I like Pedro Pascal, I really do, and I think he's going to smash it, but I'm sure there's somebody better that could have done it, but not better than Pedro Pascal, but better to do that role. That's what I mean.
I agree. I'm not as keen yet on him being in that role, and so I guess I'll waiting to see on that one. So, from the chat real quick, I like to see Opie from SOA. Name is escaping me for some reason for centuries. Is that Charlie? What's his name? Actor from Sons of Anarchy. Hold on. Is it Charlie something? Hold on. Let me look this up. Go ahead, Alex. You're about to say something.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Sorry, yes, Charlie Hunman. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that who you're talking about from the chat?
Yeah. He was in the Gentleman, wasn't he? Yeah.
I can see him in that role. I still think if you're going to typecast it as comic book accurate, Alexander Skarsgård looks like a perfect Sentry to me. You know, I keep seeing Henry Cavill out there being talked about for it. I'm just like, I don't see it. You're just basically saying because he was Superman, you want him in an evil Superman-ish role. I'm just like, let him play the other dude.
Captain Britain.
No, well, Captain Britain's another one, but the other
Hyperion.
Yes, Hyperion. Let him play Hyperion, but I don't see him for this role.
I would love Travis Fimmel, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's the guy who played Ragnar in Vikings. Man, I think he would tear that role up as Sentry, you know.
I always thought he might make a good Sabretooth, actually.
Yeah, he would.
After seeing him in what was the Ridley Scott thing that he did most recently about
Ryan Hurst, they're saying
traveling to a new planet, but Travis Fimmel was in that, and he was exceptional in that, absolutely exceptional.
I like the guy who plays
actor
Jack Reacher as Hyperion. He looks exactly like Hyperion.
Yeah.
In the comics. I guess they're saying Ryan Hurst is who they're talking about from SOA.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The Marvels, it's on digital already as of January 16th. It will be on 4K and Blu-ray February 13th. I do not have a date for Disney Plus though.
Can't be long after that.
Yep.
I'm quite looking forward to seeing that again. Actually, that was good fun.
Yeah,
it was a good fun. You know, relatively short. You know, quite compact, but good fun movie.
There have been some clips floating around of the deleted scenes and that kind of stuff. Those look pretty good, so I'm looking forward to seeing those.
Nice.
Defenders projects, which I mentioned as talking about Echo. So the Defenders verse officially been added to the Disney Plus MCU timeline. So you get to see when Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Punisher and Iron Fist and the Defenders show all fall into the MCU timeline. And Daredevil is also a featured project out there now. So
nice. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just waiting for the memes if they recast Iron Fist or they make somebody else the Iron Fist of him just being like, but I am the immortal Iron Fist, you know, like.
And we'll see. We'll get the first tease of Iron Fist in the MCU in the Wakanda animated series coming out later this year, because it's rumored that Iron Fist will be in that show. Which I wonder if he comes across Vibranium or something like that, and that's how he crosses paths with the Koei, maybe. So
I'd really like to see that other Iron Fist, Orson Randall, that they had. You know. Ooh. Yeah. Yep. I mean, they had that scene where they had like the little Iron Fist guns that he had where you could channel it through that in that, what was it, the end of the second season? Was it, or were there a third season? Or
when Colleen when Colleen became Iron Fist, and then he got the weapons when he came back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I thought that was a nice little kind of like play on that. But yeah, I mean, they got to do something better with Iron Fist, in my opinion. But
okay, lots of Daredevil Born Again news, because your boy Vinny D's been out there doing a lot press. It seems like from the chat here. Please bring Luke Cage back ASAP. Yes,
I liked him.
Michael Coulter. I would hope for someone different. I'm fine with Michael Coulter, but I still wouldn't mind seeing someone a little more juiced for the role.
I watched Plane a couple of months ago now, and he's in that with Gerard Butler, and he looked good in that. Mike Holt looked good. He looked less fluffy.
Yeah. I mean, if they jack him up a little bit, I'm fine with him. Like I said, I think he did good in that role.
Yeah.
Now, plus, if Luke Cage is canon, that means Mahershala Ali has now been a villain and will be Blade. So, you know.
Luckily, Cottonmouth did not survive that series because so according to Jeff Schneider, Eldon Henson and Deborah Ann Wall will have joined the cast of Daredevil Born Again. Also, John Bernthal is also returning. I know early on they also said that Jessica Jones was supposed to be returning, but I have not seen her name mentioned again. Only those three. Now again, it's also going through rewrites as well, but it looks like Dario Scardapane reportedly wrote a new pilot episode in the first 2 episodes for the new script. John Bernthal via Collider says returns the Punisher has to be right with real sacred integrity to the source material and to what is at the core of Frank. I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure of that. If and when we do it right. So,
nice.
Also, Daniel RPK is reportedly saying that White Tiger will appear as well in Born Again, which was White Tiger, not a different White Tiger, was reportedly in the original shot stuff of the series before everything got scrapped. It sounds like White Tiger is still on that. I don't know which one or what form and fashion, but it had to do with a cop, something with a cop killer and a trial, and that's how we got the initial White Tiger in the series. So I'm not sure if that's still the direction. Vincent D'Onofrio confirms the decision to canonize the Defenders was made when Daredevil Born Again was restarted. So here you go. They changed it, and that's the whole thing with the hammer. You know, maybe that didn't get fixed in time, but they scrapped the rest of the series and then basically were redoing it, and they said that we're making all Netflix stuff's canon now. During our restart of all the creative on Born Again, all the creatives got together and said, look, this is how we've got to do it now. So we were for sure only speaking about it in terms of being directly connected to the original Daredevil. It brings in a lot of cool stories and all the collateral story that happened in those original 3 seasons. So from that right there, it seems like the focus is more on the core Daredevil stuff. Maybe not everything, but at least on the core Daredevil stuff.
Please bring back Elodie Young as Elektra. Yes. I thought she did such a phenomenal job playing Elektra. And they had some great fight scenes with her and Daredevil and stuff like that. So it'd be awesome.
From the chat here, I like Mike, but it seemed like he was too laid back with Luke's character, if that makes sense. Yep. Glad Bernthal will be back. He's legit passionate about the character. Yeah, I like when they did the whole Power Man flashback with them. Was pretty cool with Coulter, but yeah, he was pretty laid back in this series. And also from the chat here, they agree with you. Yes, 100% with Elodie. Vinny D is happy. Is so happy about Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead directing Daredevil Born Again. I was like, okay, not only are we switching things up, but the bosses are doing the right thing for us. They've given us their hottest talent, and that's pretty cool. He also said, so the first thing I did when I was back, what I did was thank them. I thank Kevin Feige for doing that and sticking with Charlie Cox and I. Via comic.com, he also reveals that the amount of episodes keep fluctuating for the series. It seems like there are a few shows that could work with more episodes, then some just need 8 or 10 or 6. So it sounds like the 18's not happening. We just don't know what is going to happen now, but it looks like it's going to be less than 18. So we'll see what happens. Phillips Silvera, stunt fight and co-coordinator for the Netflix 1 through 3 seasons, has been hired as well. So he's returning also.
Cool.
So
it's good news.
Yep. James McAvoy responded to the possibility of him returning to the MCU via Entertainment Tonight. Anything I say will get me in trouble on something like that. I have no contact with them. If they want me to come back, they need to talk to me, need a good script, and I ain't saying anything. I mean, he come back as another character too, honestly. I didn't think of anyone off the top of my head. He could play Sentry.
I mean,
anybody can play Sentry. I can play
Sentry. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Split with him.
Yes.
And he was phenomenal playing all those different personalities and stuff like that. Like he was amazing.
He could play more.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, he's a very versatile actor, and I loved in that movie. Like he would just change personalities like on a heartbeat. Like
and that is part of Bob Reynolds' character, isn't it? Or essentially his character. He's this sort of depressed, sort of sad man, and then all of a sudden he's Sentry.
Yep. She-Hulk news. Tatiana Maslany doesn't think there'll be a She-Hulk season 2. She spoke with the Nerd Incorrect. She said, "I think we blew our budget," and Disney was like, "No thanks." So, What If news. Director Brian Andrews on What If season 3 via Phase 0. They move stuff around every time. I thought it was like, oh, it's going to be this. It's like it's going to move a little bit. So even I had to hate to say something and have people's hopes up and then have them be dashed because of the beast of production and when things move around. I thought that it could come out at the end of the year in 2024 possibly, but that would be tight. There's some other group of people that are masterminding when things released and they're moving things on the board. And I don't know where we exist on that at the moment. But they've shot some stuff because we got a trailer for season 3 already at the end of season 2. So yeah, we'll see. So maybe this year, we'll see. Madam Web, via Jeff Snyder, Sony reportedly removed all references to Spider-Man from Madam Web. Initially deciding to go with Andrew Garfield and then selling on Tom Holland, they then realized the film being set in the 90s wouldn't allow for that. The idea was then scrapped. Sony had to reshoot every scene set in the 90s to make Tom Holland the Spider-Man of the universe. So there you go.
Wow.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
But Entertainment Weekly, the director was interviewed and said that it's set in 2003 and it's its own standalone universe. Basically, the director confirms that it's definitely in a standalone world. I was able to just have free reign, let the movie be what it needed to be, as opposed to trying to force it into something else.
Yeah.
So
interesting. That's good. That's good news. That they've not been kind of like, guided to shoehorn something in if it didn't need to be in there. I actually might go and see that.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm not there yet either. Yeah. So.
Oh, here's some new stuff from the chat. I feel like I'm watching a car that I know is about to crash in slow motion with Madam Web. I have no faith in it, but it's like you can't look away.
No, that's exactly why I want to go and watch it. I'm like, I want to see if this is good. Yeah, he's exactly like that. I can't look away.
I'll probably wait till streaming, but if my son wants to go see it, I'll probably take him.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. Spider-Man news. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say I liked that article that I saw earlier that I shared, and I'm trying to remember what it said, but it was like basically like Dakota Johnson doesn't know if Madam Web will be any good, but she hopes it's still okay, kind of type of thing. Like I was like, that's kind of like how we all feel, I mean, like that's kind of like a general consensus, and I feel like a lot of those projects with Sony, like I mean, ever since like Morbius, I think everybody's just
it's Morbin time.
Yeah, it's Morbin time, but yeah, I mean, like Kraven too. Right? Like, I mean, everybody loves Kraven as a character, but did we need a Kraven movie? Is it going to be, that good? We don't know. We'll just have to wait and find out.
Just hope it's not going to be terrible. That's it.
Yeah. Just
that's
be
the
decent
best.
At least.
That's the best we can do. Just hope it won't be terrible.
Yeah. So.
Spider-Man news. Spider-Man 4 will reportedly feature a villain that has not been adapted to live action yet. This is via the Cosmic Circus. Now, we did get Mac Gargan Scorpion tease in Homecoming at the end, but we never actually saw Scorpion. My other thoughts could be Mr. Negative or Tombstone.
Tombstone, that's what
other
I was
characters.
thinking.
Yeah, but Alex had a good thing in the chat that we had yesterday. So go ahead, Alex.
Oh,
Alex.
Yeah. So I just kind of kicked this can out there, but I would love to see Hobgoblin and like you mentioned, like what if Ned came back and you have this nice little setup where after No Way Home, we had Green Goblin. He came, maybe worked on some tech, left some Goblin stuff. Maybe Ned doesn't remember Peter Parker anymore. Now gets the Goblin gear and everything like that. And so you have like some leftover Green Goblin stuff that he becomes the Hobgoblin, kind of takes that mantle. And then you have a nice little Spider-Man 4 where you have Peter trying to make Ned remember that they're friends and try and keep him like from being, you know, a bad person, even though he could be the Hobgoblin, and kind of steer him back on the right path. I think that'd be a little interesting kind of story. And I mean, you would also have, you know, basically Peter Parker, like, who's not remembered by anybody, like basically have like the things like we saw Ned use magic in that movie. Ned may not remember that he can do that now after forgetting who Peter Parker was and stuff like that. So maybe he doesn't remember he can use magic and stuff. So
from the chat here, already alluded to it, so it makes sense. I think they're talking about the knives in his house, possibly, that they showed in No Way Home, maybe. So, yeah. Follow up with your comment there about already alluded to it, if that's what you're talking about. But yeah, I can see it. It'd be good to see something. Another chat here. Let's read this one. The whole Spider-Verse, the whole Sony-verse outside of Spider-Man, Spider-Verse is a perfect example of execs not getting it. They're like, people like comic movies, and we have this IP, so make it work, not realizing what actually makes the MCU great. I agree with you. And what I would have done if I was Sony, instead of making other movies, I would have given us the Amazing Spider-Man 3, you know, with Garfield, because that sounded like a pretty great script from what was talked about, instead of making other movies. But that's me.
Yeah, and I feel like the like Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, those movies are great, right? Like they've done phenomenal, but like we don't need every Spider-Man character ever to have a movie and its own project and like 3 more spun out of that, you know? Like it's unneeded.
Well, I think that's exactly what Monty's saying. He's kind of saying that, you know, Sony have got these characters, so they're like, well, people seem to like comic book movies, so let's just make a movie. And it's like, yeah, but that's not, it doesn't work like that, really. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it, and there's a lot more reasons as to why people like Marvel comic book movies. It's not just purely for the fact that it's just this random Marvel character that you've made a movie about. It's the connectivity, it's the sort of the years and years of time and effort that you as a viewer or as a fan put into, you know, seeing all this content. So just to chuck out a movie that's got no basis on nothing, just about one random character that we probably won't ever see again, he's not really interested.
I think that's the fear for me. Like, you know, like if we have, like, let's say a Sinister Six movie, hopefully they don't pump out 6 different movies and then be like, oh, and now we have the Sinister Six all in one movie, you know, like, and it's like some villains version of like Avengers where it's like they bring them all together and everything. Like, we don't need that, you know, but like, I feel like that's where Sony's kind of head is almost with a lot of this stuff. So
back to the whole alluded thing about Ned. He said that, so it's Knives thing, and him talking about multiple Neds out there. Back on the Sony stuff, execs motivated by profit. Yep, there you go. Ironheart news via Deadline. Dominique Thorne says filming Ironheart has wrapped. She says, strap in, get ready. It'll be a ride, much like they all are. It's an epic journey and one that I'm very excited to share. So,
hadn't that wrapped years ago?
It did, but I wonder if they did anything extra, especially now that they want to tie more to Armor Wars. So I wonder if they reshot anything. But this comment was recently out there when she was at a red carpet somewhere. She made this comment.
Okay.
So here you go. Via Daniel RPK. This is today, by the way. Ryan Gosling has reportedly had talks with Marvel about playing Nova in the MCU.
Yeah, so, I'd take that. I'd take that. And then I want to see a buddy movie with Ryan Gosling as Richard Rider and Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. That's what I want to see. That'd be awesome.
Go.
I like Gosling. I would love to see him as Danny Ketch. That's kind of like what I would like. But, I mean, he's a great actor. I mean, he could play a handful of probably different roles, you know, in the MCU.
So now we're done with the Marvel stuff. Let's talk about filming updates. Deadpool 3 has already restarted filming. It's almost done. Wonder Man has restarted. Daredevil restarts this week. As far as shooting, Thunderbolts spring 24, but we'll see, you know, how if that gets moved because of casting issues with Sentry. Brave New World restarts when the new script is ready, probably by mid of this year, so like summertime probably. Fantastic Four summer of this year, but it's probably gonna get pushed back because we don't have a cast yet. Maybe we'll get a cast soon. Blade's supposed to be later this year. Same thing with Avengers 5, also later this year, but there hasn't been any more updates on that. So Mandalorian news. There's a Mandalorian and Grogu movie in the works. Jon Favreau will direct the film. It'll go into production later this year. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are writing the script, development of which took priority over fully written season 4 of The Mandalorian. And this is via The Hollywood Reporter. So
yeah, I hope they're more creative with the name, and they come up with a better name than just Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't know. I don't know whether they're milking. It's like what we was talking about at the top of the show about the Matrix, and about making that 4th Matrix movie. Were they milking something that they shouldn't have been milking? I don't know. I don't know whether this needs a movie. I mean, I'll go see it nonetheless, but and I dare say it'd be pretty cool if those guys were involved. If Filoni and Favreau are involved, then it probably will be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Ahsoka has been officially renewed for season 2, saying the story continues. It's now in development with Dave Filoni. So
cool.
Also, there's rumors out there that let me see here. Back to the Ned stuff. Oh, I think people are going back and forth in the chat. I'll let them go back and forth. Or was I? Oh, there's rumors going around saying that Star Wars is going to make a version of What If in development. So basically taking the Marvel.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. What if Anakin had the higher ground? You know? What if Anakin raises kids?
Yeah.
That's some good stuff.
I actually wouldn't mind that.
What if Darth Vader had a working respirator?
Yeah.
Like things like that,
Let me see. DCU projects in production right now. James Gunn confirms that Superman Legacy is the only DCU project that starts production this year. Peacemaker, James Gunn via social media responds yes to season 2 getting a new opening when asked. He says definitely magnificent opening. So. Oh, the Ned comment was said it's supposed to be attached to the first comment. Not sure why it wasn't. Okay. Where was I at? Green Lantern via Rotten Tomatoes. Sterling K. Brown wants to play Jon Stewart as Green Lantern in the DCU. He says if it could happen, that would be legitimately exciting. That would be one of those giddy-inducing moments in life. So
we need Jon Stewart in DC. I mean, that has been so overdue. Hal Jordan, I feel like, has been beat to death, and it's time to move on and just focus on, Jon Stewart, somebody else, or even Kyle Rayner or something like that, So
Supergirl news: Millie Alcock, Amelia Jones, and Meg Donnelly reportedly screen test for the role of Supergirl in the DCU. I know I like Sasha Calle in the Flash. I thought she did very well. Too bad she's not getting a chance. This will be a Deadline. Also, Creature Commandos, The Witcher star Anya Cholotra will voice the villainous Cersei.
Interesting.
DCU games. Warner Brothers games confirm more games that are canon additions to James Gunn's and Peter Safran's DC universe are in the works via Variety. Wonder Woman is still being developed. They're also launching Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League on February 2nd.
So I wonder if you're going to have to play the games, watch the shows, watch the animated stuff, watch the TV programs, watch the movies, just to know what's going on.
And I feel like that Suicide Squad game has been in production and being made, and it's been out there for at least a couple of years or something. I mean, I feel like we've been hearing about that for a while, so I feel like that might have been in production before Gunn came on the scene, but I could be wrong about that. But
Stranger Things season 5 is in production, so that's getting kicked off.
I thought that was all finished. That season 4. I mean,
one more season.
Right. Okay.
Those kids are going to be 35 years old by the time it's all said and done.
Five Nights at Freddy's via Variety. Part 2 is in the works. Joss Hutcherson confirms. So. Avatar sequels via People. Sam Worthington provides a filming update on Avatar sequels. We go back to work on it in a month, and it's big. It's bigger than you can imagine. So there you go.
But speaking of people that are going to be older by the time that one comes out, I mean, Avatar sequels. Blimey, there's going to be more sequels by the time the next sequel after this one comes out, Sam Worthington's going to be about 65.
Yep.
I still haven't seen that original Avatar movie, or what is it, The Way of Water or whatever. So
wait, the first Avatar,
the second,
the sequel.
No, I haven't seen the first one or the sequel.
I haven't seen it. Oh, okay. The first one's better. The first one's better, and it's probably worth a watch. The second one, yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's a bit long and a bit full of itself, I think, in certain places. But
it's the same story told a different way.
Yeah, it is, but it is, and that's maybe why it feels a bit long, because you kind of like, I've seen all this before. But yeah, but it is a bit. It almost like dwells on some of the CGI for like far too long. They're like, oh look, there's an avatar swimming underwater. We're going to show you this for 5 minutes, and you're like, look, yeah, okay, well done. You've made a lovely looking scene. I don't really care though. I want to just move on. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
From the chat here, someone must be just joining. Any word on Star Wars, the Mando Grogu specifically? Yep, it's a movie in the works. Favreau will direct. Favreau and Filoni are writing the script. It's basically taking priority over season 4 of Mandalorian. So, where was I at next? Last of Us. Caitlin Dever has officially been cast as Abby. Beef's young Mazzino will portray Jesse, and Isabel Merced will play Dina.
Nice. Looking forward to that. Actually, the first season was decent.
Yeah. Monsterverse news. Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire has moved up to March 29th instead of April 12th, so we're getting earlier. So looking forward to that. I actually loved.
You're well into it, aren't
Legacy. Yeah, I'm loving the Monsterverse stuff. So, Monsterverse or Legacy of Monsters, Monarch. Go watch it if you can.
What is involved in all this Monsterverse? What movies? What shows?
Yep.
What is involved in it?
Yeah, so the first one is basically Skull Island Kong.
Okay.
The second one is the Godzilla, the one in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And then Monarch kind of jumps in between Kong, Skull Island. It jumps in between the San Francisco one, but then also too, it looks like it comes also out when we see Godzilla versus Kong. But if you want to watch the whole Monsterverse stuff, it's Skull Island. It's the Godzilla, Godzilla King of Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla X Kong, which is coming out, and then Monarch Legacy of Monsters ties all that stuff together.
So is Godzilla -1 not a part of that?
Nope, it's not. Nope, that's completely separate.
Okay. And not the original, and not the Godzilla from the 90s with John Cusack in it.
No, or the one with Matthew Broderick either.
Matthew Broderick, that's what I meant.
Matthew
Broderick, not John Cusack. Matthew Broderick, yeah, sorry.
Tom Cruise has signed a deal with Warner Brothers to develop original and franchise movie, which he will star in. He will get an office on the WB lot with his production company.
Sorry, wait, did you just say Tom Cruise?
Yes. So he's no longer with Paramount. He's now with Warner Brothers. Right. He's going to develop movies and franchises. I'm sure we'll probably get Top Gun 3 probably from him as part of this. He will get his own office on WB with his production company.
Okay.
It looks like right here it says, I absolutely love all the Monsterverse stuff, even the bad ones. I like LOL. I think I love them. So, Masters of the Universe Revelation, it's going to restart January 25th on Netflix. Look forward to not watching that.
Is that Kevin Smith?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Star Trek news, though. Via Deadline, Paramount is looking to expand a Star Trek feature film universe as it has tapped Andor director Toby Haynes to helm a new original film from a script by Seth Graham Smith. This is an original film set decades before 2009, with Star Trek 4 also still in active development.
Okay, so, I was going to say, so when is this? Is this with Chris Pine and Zoe Saldana and
the 4 will be with all that, but this one will probably be before that. So,
okay, cool.
Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are teaming up for a Secret Geneer film. This is the first script from Coogler through his production company Proximity Media. Then I was reading more about this. The rumor is it's a vampire movie. And so my mind went directly to Blackula I don't know if you saw that. It's a black vampire film from the late 70s. There's actually a second one called Scream, Blackula Scream with Pam Grier, but there's been a long rumored remake of Blackula, and I wonder if this is finally happening with this new film, or if
is
something
that all
else.
in that sort of blaxploitation sort of
Yep.
genre as well? Is it right?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
cool.
Yeah. And then that's all I have. One thing from the chat here. Not a fan of Tom, but Top Gun 2 was really good. Yep, it was really good. Also, too, there was chatter about making what's that movie with him and Emily Blunt?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes, making an Edge of Tomorrow sequel too. I've seen being talked about out there. So
Great movie.
yeah,
Great movie. One of my favorites, actually.
and that's all I've got for the news.
Fantastic. Nice little show there. Covered a lot of bases. Thank you to Monty. Thank you to RMC for joining us. Thank you to Nostalgic Podblast for joining us. We're going to endeavour to do an episode about Devil's Reign with that little Kingpin post-credits scene. We've all got to go and reread it though, because we don't want to come in here not knowing what we're talking about, trying to remember when we read it for the first time, however many months or years ago. So we do want to reread that and get that one in very soon, because I think that's very relevant. And then we're going to have some guests coming back on the show to talk about some different bits and pieces, hopefully by the time we get to February. So yeah, looking forward to all that stuff. Any last words, guys? Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again. Take care.
All right, have a good one.
See ya.